Joe Bates is on next, ladies and gentlemen. So, Joe Bates is going to come to the stage. So make it feel very welcome. On three, start the round of applause. 1, 2, 3, go! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Joe Bates!
Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you. Yes, I am Joe Bates. What? Shit. I'll just leave that alone. Hi guys, how you doing? All good? I am Joe Bates. I'm also from. What? I'm just gonna use mindfulness to just see past that. I think. Here we go. I'm also from Middlesbrough. But I've actually been in London for the last 12 years. I travelled down to London to make it. It's not going that well because the MC didn't know my name. I travelled down on the megabus, but you'll know this. We don't actually call it the megabus in Middlesbrough, where I come from. Up there, we call it the Chariot of Dreams. I grew up in quite a religious family. I'm not religious though, because I just think the Bible is very of its time. I don't think there's anything in the Bible that couldn't have been made up by someone back then. I think if God really wanted us to believe in him, he should have put something in the Bible no one back then could possibly have known about. Yeah, I think a lot more people would believe in God if the 11th commandment was, don't do ket. Something like... Or something like no poppers on the Sabbath. Quite a political family as well, a very Labour family. My nana it's so Labour that she used to turn the TV off as soon as Boris Johnson appeared on screen. Yeah, it was good, but it's good, but yeah, now she's got a bit older, her eyesight's got quite bad, and she now turns the TV off when any white man appears on screen. Does mean she doesn't get to see much telly. On the plus side, it does make her seem like the most woke person in that care home. Sorry, that's just such a daft joke, because anyway, my nana is not woke at all. My nana is the opposite of woke. She's dead. You can't get much less woke than that. Lots of stuff going on at the moment. Boris Johnson resigning. It's good, I guess. To be fair to him, he gets a lot of... I don't like him, but he gets a lot of bad press. But he did resign literally the first thing he ever did wrong. And that's pretty good, isn't it? I think that was the first thing he'd done wrong in his life. I haven't been keeping up with the news. Yeah, I'm just sarcasm is a pretty low form of wit, isn't it? But and the Tory, the people that are going to replace him don't look any better, do they? It sort of reminds me of that. The film Alien, when they go in a room with they put a torch on and there's loads of alien eggs. It feels like that's a bit like the Tory leadership race. Because they're not ready yet. But one of them will become a relentless killing machine. It's also the women's Euros, England in the semi-finals. That's great. Yeah. It's the only time I get patriotic is with sports. Last year with England getting at the final of a major competition for the first time in my lifetime. I was so happy and emotional. Definitely would have cried if I wasn't on antidepressants. As it was, I just felt quite content. And then when we scored in the final, a random old man came up and hugged me in the pub. And a week later to the day, I got COVID. We just can't have nice things in this country, can we? But then there was that horrible racist abuse directed at black players, which made you feel awful. And a lot of people saying, oh, that's really bad, but it doesn't represent who we are as a country. It's those amazing, inspirational footballers who represent who we are as a country, and that's really nice. Don't think it's true though. I feel like I've met more racists than footballers. But it was really, they were quite nice afterwards, because every footballer, I don't know if you remember, came out with a statement condemning the racism and saying we're together as a team. They all did individual statements. Do people remember this the day after? It was so beautiful, and they're getting better and better. And you thought, who's going to be the best? And do people remember Harry Maguire's statement that he came out with the day after? Luckily, I've got it in my pocket. It's quite beautiful. Like I don't mean to get all earnest, but this is nice. This sort of inspired me quite a lot. Harry Maguire said the day after that racist abuse, "Thank you, England. You cheered your heart out. Now, eat your heart out. Get a free taco today at Taco Bell UK." It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's like something Martin Luther King would say. You can't be racist with a mouthful of tacos. You just can't. So it has been a bad couple of years. Like I've been trying to get myself sorted over the last couple of years, but it's sort of been hard. Last year, at the beginning of last year, I said I'm going to give up drinking. But a pandemic is not the time to be giving up alcohol, is it? Like I managed about 12 days, but they weren't consecutive. So averaged about one a month. So I've tried something a bit different this time. I didn't give up alcohol at the beginning of the year, but I did take up antidepressants, like I mentioned, similar to Rabia. And the reason I did that was because the world's been seeming quite bleak for a while. And I started taking antidepressants, basically just to double check that things were bleak, or or whether I had a medical problem. And I've been on them for a while now, and I've actually realised things are that bleak. But now I don't care anymore. I'm feeling really positive about things. I'm feeling really positive about things like the rise of the far right and like global warming, because I think those two things are going to sort each other out, because when you look at it, most members of the far right are white people with short hair. And I know from personal experience, that group is very vulnerable to sunstroke. I think global warming is going to take them out in the next couple of years. I'm feeling more positive about the Tory. I'm a bit cynical about the Tories, but I was making a cheap joke earlier. But they've done some good stuff. When you look at the leadership race, it's very mixed. Lots of different two genders. They're not that progressive yet, but lots of women, lots of ethnic minorities, and it makes you think. Actually, in the last 12 years, the Tories have actually done quite a lot of good stuff in terms of equality, and in some areas, we've actually made some real progress. When you look at it now, there's so much more diversity in the homeless population. Honestly, when I first came to London, there was only one homeless person on my street, and he wasn't very diverse. He was white, male. He was probably straight. I didn't ask. But now I walk down my street, and there's loads of homeless people. And it's a real melting pot. There's so many different cultures and ethnicities. It's obviously become a lot more of an inclusive environment. And I know what you're thinking. We're not there yet. We've still got work to do. But I am really encouraged that we do seem to be seeing a lot more women beggars. People like Theresa May and Liz Truss can feel so proud. They've helped so many women break through that glass floor. Something a little bit more uplifting now. Corona. I'm single. Basically, I'm feeling a bit depressed about being single, but I'm feeling more positive about it now because I was listening to an album on Spotify. Do people like Spotify? Yeah, I think Spotify is really good. It's very cheap. It doesn't pay the musicians very much, which is good. The best art comes from struggle. And then I had this thing where I was listening to an album on Spotify, and then after the album was finished, Spotify made the most beautiful mix that anyone has ever made for me. Has anyone had this sort of automatic mix creator thing? Honestly, it was the first time in my life that I'd ever felt understood. Anyone had even really tried. And it made me feel better about being single, because I think in a few years' time, marrying robots is probably going to be an option. And if a robot can make me feel, can make me a mix as good as that, that's going to be a beautiful marriage. The sex robot stuff is very short. I'll be through it very soon. Sorry. I can do this. Thank you for that. No, I was wavering in my head, but that's I'm gonna thank you. I can do this, sex robot. It was like it'd be a beautiful marriage with a robot that can make me a mix as good as that. And like to me, it wouldn't even have to look particularly human. You know, like I'd be happy with a sort of Henry the Hoover type thing. You know, as long as it had some speakers. That's probably what sex robots are going to be like, really, for most of us, aren't they? Like most of us are only going to be able to afford like shit ones, or you know, or like ones with adverts. You know, like you're trying to get into it, but it keeps on telling you to subscribe to HelloFresh. You've been absolutely lovely. This is my first time in Liverpool, and I've had a brilliant day, and you've been absolutely fantastic. I've been Joe Bitt. Thank you very much. Good night.
Really good. Joe Bates, ladies and gentlemen.